It is 4 o'clock. Please stand to sing O Canada. Please be seated. I'll ask the clerk, the deputy clerk, for the roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. Mayor Patterson,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Warren Dickert,
Present.
Councillor Harold Fleet,
Present.
Councillor Dave Hawking,
Present.
Councillor Carol Hudson,
Present.
Councillor Brandon Cable,
Present.
and Councillor Susan Sagal has sent her regrets.
Thank you. The land acknowledgement. As we work toward reconciliation with Indigenous people, we begin our meeting today by respectfully acknowledging that we are situated on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Nation, the people of Three Fires known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, and further give thanks to the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, now known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. So welcome to our regular council meeting for Tuesday, May the 21st, 2024. Good afternoon, council, staff, guests, the viewing public, and the media. Council, does anyone have a disclosure of pecuniary interest or a conflict of interest? Seeing none, of course, if one should arise during the meeting, you may declare it then. Item 5 on the agenda and item 6, additions, agenda additions or deletions and delegations. We do not have any. Item 7 is business arising from the minutes. 7.1 is a notice of motion from Deputy Mayor Dickert about a budget review committee. And I will ask Deputy Mayor Dickert, you will make the motion. Is there a seconder? Councillor Fleet. Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll just read the notice of motion as it's been presented to people. Whereas fiscal pressure on municipal budgets continues to increase, and whereas our recent budget process identified a need to review alternate sources of revenue and spending restraint, and whereas budget review and monitoring should be a year-round exercise, and whereas the town's strategic goal number 5 is for open and responsible government, and whereas the current budget setting practice creates an inordinate amount of work over a very short time frame at the end of the year, and whereas there is a need to look at extending the budget review process beyond the one-year time frame, therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Hanover directs staff to provide a report with respect to a proposed terms of reference to establish a budget review committee comprised of council and staff members with a committee scope of responsibility that may include to review current budget status, discuss alternate revenue sources, review inflationary trends and pressures on the municipal budget, discuss possible resource and shared service options, and strategize upcoming budget plans.
Comments, discussion, Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Yeah, just, I think this is an opportunity for us to see the budget process kind of brought to the forefront, and an opportunity to identify challenges and trends prior to that year-end timeframe where, it's almost not fair to staff when everything kind of gets dropped on us at the end of the year prior to, we going into the budget discussions and there's, I look at 20-some% increase where it kind of comes as a shock. And I think it would be better for staff and for council if we had the opportunity to work on this throughout the year, talk about the needs and wants. It's easy to lose track of how much money we're spending when we talk about things in isolation. And, and I look at last 2 weeks ago at the budget meeting, we get an opportunity for a grant of $50,000 to put in charging stations, and it looks like a really good opportunity, but you really need to look at all the other things that we're doing in this year and the planned things for the year. And I just think this would help to bring that to the forefront and keep us all more apprised of where we are in the budget process and the impacts. Some of those, they may seem smaller at the time, but when added to everything else, they just have an overall larger impact. So that's my reason for bringing this forward. And I look forward to what my fellow councillors have to think about this.
Other comments, discussion? Councillor Hawking.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks for the motion, Deputy Mayor Ward. I read through the therefore and something that came to my mind, and I hope that this is not the intent, is that this committee gets into a micromanaging type of focus where they go through and reviewing every expenditure. I think it's good to establish a budget because every year it almost seems like a bit of chaos at the end of December or November, or whenever we're starting. But having said that, I watched the council input that Chris gave us. Was it a quarterly review you send out? It's part of our, and there wasn't any questioning last time on that. So I'm wondering if that part of the report could be expanded to include some of these things that Deputy Mayor Dickert is suggesting. That's just a comment. I just don't want it to become a second guess on our staff. I believe it has some positive aspects to it. And I couldn't agree with you more that things are getting tighter every year, but we have to make sure that we remain our focus of being a progressive and moving forward community. And so that's my comments, Your Worship.
Thank you. Other comments? Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship. I fully support Deputy Mayor Dickert's motion to establish a budget review committee. I feel this committee will help with the budget process and again, eliminate that rushed decision at budget time. And maybe also give us opportunity to look at other ways of way we can do business and, manage our taxpayers' dollars. It might be an opportunity that we can maybe look at other options. But anyways, I fully support Deputy Dickert's motion.
Thank you. Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Dickert, for bringing the idea forward. I also support the idea of council and staff having an opportunity for more in-depth discussion around the municipality's budget and the budget process. And I think that perhaps this joint committee of staff and council can look at new opportunities or areas that maybe we wouldn't necessarily be able to explore during the typical budget process due to the, I guess, compressed nature that usually we would see. And I think typically we would just look at kind of what's presented within the binder, and I'm looking at what are the opportunities that are outside the binder that maybe we don't typically consider. So I think this is a great opportunity to explore some of those ideas.
Thank you. Any other comments? I would just like to say I'm, in my thoughts, I would prefer to have a quarterly report come from Chris rather than setting up another committee, taking staff time and our time. If we had quarterly reports that Chris would prepare And say, for instance, the first report, she would elaborate an overview of what's coming up during the year or within the next 3 months. And then some other information, which is in this notice of motion. And we would, as a council, sit here and discuss it rather than 2 or 3 members discussing that at the committee level and then bringing that forward. To me, it's like 2 or 3 people would be directing this council. And I would rather see something like as important as the budget be at this table. So we could have a report, we could discuss it, and whatever is discussed at the committee level can be discussed in an open forum. And if we don't like what we're getting on the first quarter, we can say to Chris, we need a little more information this direction. And then keep massaging it until we get what we want and we're ready for budget at the end of the year. Just my thoughts. Deputy Mayor Dickert?
Thank you, Your Worship. And you know, the intent of this motion is that staff is going to go away and create a terms of reference. So I think we can discuss it further at that point in time. Obviously I do support this, and I think that it's a good tool for us to have. And the terms of reference will really dictate what that committee might or might not be able to do. So I, for one, would like to see it pass tonight to the point where staff does bring back that report, and we can massage what it may or may not be at that point in time. Thank you.
Any other comments? Councillor Hocking?
This motion brings back sort of what we used to do back in the 80s. I hope that the council back then was the Board of Works Committee and a Finance Committee. And we had two separate committees. And really the only time we got together and what we knew what was going on is when a proposal came to council. And I don't think that's healthy. And I'm not opposed to some of the suggestions here. I just don't like the idea of and maybe the terms of reference. It should be a full council, because this could turn into a finance committee of council and go down a pathway, and then they make all the recommendations with regard to budget, et cetera, alternate sources, without any discussion to all members of council. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fleet?
Thank you, Your Worship. I agree with Councillor Hawken. I think, could be a committee of council, just not a couple of us. I think it should be a committee of all of council when we do meet, but that's just my opinion, and that can be sorted out.
So a committee of council would be at this table. It wouldn't be at another time or whatever. It would be at this table. I would like, to me, the motion reads that to establish a budget review committee. So if it could be amended that with, or establish a committee or alternatives maybe when the report comes back, because this is very specific that a committee will be formed, either yes or no. Just my thoughts. Any further discussion? All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3. That is carried. So I will ask our CAO timeline. When do you think you might have a report coming back to council?
Well, I would hope by June 17th. I think that's our next meeting. We'll aim for that. Because honestly, we'll be into 2025 budget probably shortly thereafter. So, yeah, if there's to be a committee that assists with some of that, then we'll need to make those decisions fairly quickly.
Very good, thank you. Okay, item 8 is council and committee of the whole minutes. 8.1 is our minutes from the regular council meeting of April 15th. I need a mover and seconder to put that on the floor. Councillor Cable and Councillor Hudson. During that meeting, we just a couple of items I'll highlight. As the host municipality for the Saugeen Mobility and Regional Transit Corporation for the public transit provincial gas tax allocation, we approved a bylaw to enter into an agreement with the Ministry of Transportation. We also agreed to a one-year extension of the draft approval extension of plan of subdivision for the Lucia Giorgio subdivision. Along with some reports, we also proclaimed June 15th as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day and agreed to have their flag flown at the Civic Center from June 10th to June 17th. Any comments or questions? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Item 8.2 is the joint council meeting minutes about the Saugeen Municipal Airport at the Elmwood Community Center on April 17th. I need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor. Deputy Mayor Dickert and Councillor Fleet. And the result of that meeting was the councils of Brockton, Hanover, and West Grey agreed to consider the potential options for the future of the airport, decide how each council would like to proceed, and inform the remaining councils of the decision within the next 2 months. So there will be a report coming forward to this council for our decision. Any questions or comments about that meeting? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Item 8.3 is the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from May the 6th. I need a mover and seconder to put those on the floor. Councillor Hocking and Deputy Mayor Dickert. So that was a good meeting with lots going on. Following a notice of motion and some good discussion, it was resolved that council will continue to meet the first and third Monday of each month at 4 p.m. Council supported the nomination of John Fruin for the Source Protection Committee representative. We proclaimed the month of May as Building Safety Month, and we agreed to enter into a contract with Watson and Associates Limited for the consultant services for the implementation of the Municipal Development Charges and Asset Management Plan. And we recognize the month of June as Pride Month in the town of Hanover, and the Pride flag will be flown the first, third, and fourth weeks in June. And kudos to the deputy clerk for getting that very clearly on how that flag is going to be flown. And coming out of our closed meeting, council endorsed the execution of the minutes of settlement agreement with respect to OPA 11. Any questions or comments with that set of minutes for the meeting? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. So staff reports is item 9. We have 9.1. The report is PRC 0624. The subject is the ice surface policies update, and it's from Laura Kristen, our Director of Parks, Recreation and Culture. And I need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor. Councillor Cable and Councillor Hudson. Laura?
Thank you, Your Worship. It's found on page 27 in your council package. So our ICE policies generally outline the policies and procedures for ICE allocation and the rental terms for the ice surface located at the P&H Center. And really our goal is to manage user groups typically more on that reoccurring basis, just to ensure that the policies and the practices are fair and standardized. Both of the policies that are before you this evening were both drafted in 2011. And the goal was to update them for effectiveness and relevance. And I have provided a copy of both of the terms with either the changes in red font or using that strike through feature. So the first one I'll talk about is the ice surface allocation policy. So the intent of this policy is to maximize the usage of our ice time. We only have a certain amount of time per day, particularly our prime time that everybody wants. So we want to ensure that it's fair and equitable, and typically again applies to those reoccurring users. So a summary of the changes for the ice surface allocation policy. The first is just some minor housekeeping changes relating to names
and updating references. The second one is the ice season definition. So we had extended the ice season from 28 to 30 weeks to 26 to 30 weeks, just to allow staff just that little bit more flexibility, kind of relating to that final day of ice. And for the ice rental booking policy and agreement terms, this policy is more based on kind of the rules and the conditions and the terms of our ice surface rentals. And it does serve as a formal agreement between the town and the ice users. The changes proposed for the ice rental booking policy, the first one, we do have some minor housekeeping changes. As well, the ice rental cancellation date. This was one of the points into why we wanted to relook at this policy, just again, to give us that little bit more flexibility. So previously, user groups would have had until October 1st to give back any unneeded ice time. So we are proposing to move that date forward to September 16th. And moving this date forward will allow our staff the greater ability to reallocate any ice that has been given back, basically, essentially to resell that ice and to maximize our profits. Further, the extended ice rate, it is proposed to remove sections 14B and C. This reads that the ice rates would be calculated as of May 1st based on 50% of the net cost of the ice surface operation. And the reason for the removal is we lack that solid or defensible calculation in this scenario because the P&H Center doesn't have a specific separation for costs. So the pool and the arena run off of the same hydrometer, for example. So that part is very, very difficult to fully defend. We make assumptions, we make estimates for sure, but when it comes to actually billing users for that, it could become very tricky. The Parks Recreation Advisory Committee did review the policies and the changes and passed a motion to support these changes. Financial implications, there are none for tonight. The link to strategic plan is the open and responsible government. And the recommendations before you this evening is that report PRC 0624 ice surface policies be received, and that council approve the updated ice service policy for implementation for the 24-25 season, and that council approve the updated ice rental booking policy and agreement terms also for the implementation for the 24-25 season. Does anyone have questions for me?
Thanks, Laura. Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Laura, for your report. The extended ice rate beyond May 1st at 50%, how does that compare to our neighboring communities?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I actually had a note here to mention it, and then I didn't mention that a separate report will be brought forward relating to extended ice for next season. At this point, we're lacking information specifically on playoff dates, et cetera. So that will be coming forward. But to answer your question, I did reach out. I did send correspondence out to our neighboring communities. So we did receive back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 responses. 2 of the 5 do not charge anything additional. One of them said we would never increase or extend our ice rate no matter what, or our ice time, I should say. We also have one that has a very similar, where they have an increase in rate. And then there was one other that also had, and this has actually been relooked at, but they actually would charge that team for every single hour of ice rate that was available. and then anything that got sold would be taken off. So essentially, if, you know, Monday to Friday, your prime time from say 5 PM till 10 PM, you got 5 hours a night, so they'd be paying that. From what I understand, that has been also relooked at. So just to kind of give you an idea of what we heard back. Okay,
That'd be very hard to manage, if, say, you rented me ice and at full price or 50% more or whatever, and then I got a discount after you went out and rented out more ice. I just don't like that, but anyways.
Other comments or questions? All right. All in favor of report PRC 0624? That is carried. Item 9.2 is report PB 1424. The subject is part lot control at 709 18th Street on lot 17. And the report is from Andrew Wilkin, our Director of Building and Planning and CBO, and Sandeep Kaur is here as our junior planner to highlight the report. I need a mover and seconder, Deputy Mayor Dickert and Councillor Hudson. Sandeep?
Thank you, Your Worship. So on May 8, 2024, Van Hatton Land Inc., agent for Candu Homes 2020 Limited, submitted an application for pot lot control under Section 50, subsection 7 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, as amended, for the property described as Lot 17, Registered Plan 16M95, and more specifically described as Parts 1, 2, and 3, Reference Plan 16R-12039, and known as 709 18th Street in the town of Hanover in the county of Gray. Reference plan is attached along with the report. In Saugeen Cedar Heights West Subdivision, lots 17, 18, and 19 forms a triplex, with Candu Homes 2020 Limited currently holding ownership of both Lot 17 and Lot 18. Candu Homes 2020 Limited is seeking permission for access to the rear yard of Lot 18 parcel through Lot 17 as identified. The reference plan is included in the report for your reference. Without such an access, the current and future owner of Lot 18 would not have exterior access to their rear yard without going through the triplex dwelling currently being constructed. In accordance with this Section 50, subsection 7.1 of the Planning Act, the bylaw does not take effect until it has been approved by the County of Gray and registered. There are no direct financial implications to the town associated with this report. And this report supports healthy and welcoming community as indicated strategic goals and action plans of the town of Hanover. The staff recommends report PB-14-24 pot lot control 709 18th Street lot 17 be received, and that council pass bylaw number 3303-24 authorizing the mayor and deputy clerk to apply pot lot control for the purpose of creating an easement on the property known as 709 18th Street. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandeep. Any questions or comments? Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Sandeep, for the report. Just looking at the bylaw, I guess it gets passed in order to put this easement onto that lot. So nowhere in the bylaw does it actually state that like the word easement in the bylaw. So I guess it's more of a clarification. So in order for this to be enacted, so we have the official wording here, is it that the person who buys that property would need to see the report that goes with it to know that there's an easement on this lot?
So with the bylaw, and there would be a reference plan that will be registered on title. Whenever the other person who buys it, he will get everything, like whatever is registered on title on that land or whatever. So they will get information from the land registry office.
Thank you. In number 2 on the bylaw, it says that this bylaw shall expire no later than 2 years from now. So why would we want the bylaw to expire if it's what allows there to be an easement?
So according to the Planning Act, we have to specify the expiration of the bylaw. If there are any changes or something, or the property owner wants to do something with their property or a change of mind, then the bylaw itself will expire in 2 years. Or if they have to register the easement on the title within 2 years, and if they fail to do so, then this bylaw will expire and they can't do it. They have to renew it then.
And one more. So just wondering about the logistics of how this works, right? So the person that owns that middle unit in the triplex, in order for them to have access to their rear yard, by having this easement, does that mean that the owner on the end unit cannot put up a fence between those two properties? Or does it just mean that there has to be a gate between the two in order to allow that person access into the rear yard?
So actually, the distance between, that's really 1 meter, and I don't think so they are able to put a fence in there. So my answer would be no for this one.
So they could put a fence as long as that person could still access the rear yard.
I think so, yes.
Excellent, thank you.
Very good. Any other questions? Oh, go ahead, Andrew.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, just to confirm with Sandeep, yes, the abutting property just needs to maintain an access. You could put a fence up. You would just need to provide permission to that unit to use your fence, whether that be a gate or whatever it may be. You typically can't put a structure in an easement or a part lot control. Therefore, a permit would not be applicable, but you do not need a permit for a fence.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. So, very good. Any other questions or comments? All in favor of PB 1424? That is carried. Similar to that report, 9.3 is report PB 1524. This is part lot control from 760 18th Street, lot 108. And again, it's from Andrew Wilkin, our Director of Building and Planning, and also our CBO, and Sandeep Kaur, our Junior Planner, is going to highlight the report, but I need a mover and seconder first, Councillor Hocking and Councillor Fleet. Sandeep?
Thank you, Your Worship. On May 8, 2024, Manhattan Land Surveyors Inc. agent for Eric Hopkins Limited submitted an application for part lot control under Section 50, subsection 7 of the Planning Act RSO 1990 as amended for the property described as lots 108, registered plan 16M-95, and more specifically described as parts 1 and 2, reference plan 16R-12038, and known as 760 18th Street in the town of Hanover in the county of Gray. Reference plan is attached along with the report. In the Saugeen Cedar Heights West Subdivision, lots 108, 109, and 110 form a triplex with Eric Hopkins Limited, currently holding ownership of all the lots. Eric Hopkins Limited is seeking permission to access the backyard of lot 109 through lot 108. Without such an access, the current and future owner of lot 109 would not have exterior access to their rear yard without going through the triplex dwelling currently being constructed. The reference plan is included in the report for your reference. In accordance with Section 50, subsection 7.1 of the Planning Act, the bylaw does not take effect until it has been approved by the County of Gray and registered. There are no direct financial implications to the town associated with this report, and this report supports healthy and welcoming community, the indicated strategic goals and action plans of the town of Hanover. The staff recommends report PB-15-24 part lot control 760 18th Street, lot 108 be received, and that the council pass bylaw number 3304-24, authorizing the mayor and deputy clerk to apply part lot control for the purpose of creating an easement on the property known as 760 18th Street. Thank you.
Very good. Questions, comments? All right, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Very good, Sandeep. Item 10 is committees of council minutes, and we have 3 sets of minutes plus a subcommittee minutes. So I need a mover and seconder before we highlight those minutes. Councillor Cable and Deputy Mayor Dickert. So item 10.1 is the Age-Friendly Advisory Committee minutes. Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship. Age Friendly met Monday, April 15th. I'll just go over some of the highlights. Brandon Dobson touched on Senior Games 2024 local Hanover Games. They run in April and May, and the social event will be on May 29th. Age Friendly Business Recognition, 10th Street Wealth Management, Inc. has been approved as an age-friendly business. Number 7, seniors community grant. Brandon gave us an update. Application for the 2024 seniors community grant has been submitted. Results are expected in June. Other business committee shared there is possible grant we may want to apply for. The grant is called Inclusive Community Grant. Brandon will check that out. Committee members shared that Bruce County Libraries have completed a dementia education e-learning through the Alzheimer's Society. Library had their second gathering of Sip and Stitch, which continues to be a success. Committee members inquired what are some strategies to improve safety for seniors walk, and I take any questions.
Thank you. I don't see any hands raised, so we'll move on. 10.2 is Parks, Recreation, Culture, and Advisory Committee minutes. Councillor Hudson is going to highlight those.
Thank you, Your Worship. Parks, Recreation, Culture met Wednesday, April the 21st. We had a delegation, a presentation was provided on behalf of the Hanover Miners Soccer. And they provided with the committee with an overview of their successes, growth, challenges, and needs. And the hope is to have many of the other user groups present at the PRC committee to also gain a better understanding of their processes and needs as well. The good news about the Trail Bridge update, the contractor submitted the request for substantial completion, which I understand is happening today and tomorrow. And then they'll be able to complete work to wrap up and address minor deficiencies over the coming weeks. And the date has been set for a reopening ceremony for the trail bridges for Monday, June the 24th at 6 o'clock. So that's exciting news for people. The Saugeen River was restocked with brown trout on April the 25th, just in time for fishing season. So 3,000 brown trout were dropped into the river, and there's lots of fishermen hanging out down at the base of the dam right now. So that's great. The boiler replacement project for the P&H Center has started. Conestoga Mechanical has started the prep work for that boiler replacement in, I believe it's August. The Robert Steers Memorial Park has completed the installation of the new playground equipment. The Barons provided some excellent games to their many fans and followers. And the Hanover Local Senior Games events have begun with lots of events happening running until May the 29th. Several schools are also planning to bring their gym classes for the Swim to Survive program as well, ongoing. And there was also a discussion about applying for a grant, Ontario building new and upgraded sports and recreation facilities. And the PRC committee discussed what project would be best suited to submit the application for, and it was decided that a possibility of the Binkley Patterson Pavilion at the Kinsman Ball Diamond be the project for the upcoming Ontario Building New and Upgraded Sports Recreation Facilities Grant application. And then also a community information session was discussed to provide public information about occurring and future projects for Parks and Rec. And that date has turned into Monday, June the 10th at 7 o'clock. The disc golf course is now open as of May 10th. So lots of people probably getting their discs polished up for that. And one other thing here. Oh, as far as the camp spots, this is a little delayed with the numbers for this, and 82% of the camp spots have been filled for the summer. So all very good news going on.
Very good. Any questions or comments? Okay. Item 10.2.1 is the Splash Pad Development Ad Hoc Committee minutes. Councillor Hawking.
Thank you, Your Worship. So these are minutes from April the 3rd meeting. First of all, I'd like to highlight we discussed our first major fundraising event / dance. And it is a pre-teen dance party. It's on Friday, June the 14th. Grades 4 to 6 from 6 to 7:30, and grades 7 and 8 to 10 p.m. The location is the P&H Center and the Lions Den, and admission is $10. We have a local bank that will match up to $3,000. So how that works is if they get involved with a fundraising event, they will use that to contribute their donation, and hopefully they'll be involved with that dance. Marketing material, we're all ready to show off our stuff at the garden show. We have our own booth attached to the Town of Hanover's booth. So thank you for letting us tag along. We have listed there the different items. Fundraising quiet phase. As you know, we've been working behind the scenes, and I haven't got an exact number, but I can tell you we're almost over 60% of our requirement through our quiet phase. So thanks to all the people, the community who have supported the fundraising drive. And 5-2, we each get given a name and a target and a task, and we proceed with that approach. Again, we're going to launch our public campaign at and those dates have changed obviously from the minutes at this weekend. And I'm open to any questions.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for Councillor Hawking? Seeing none, we'll move on. Item 10.3 is the Planning Advisory Committee minutes. Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Worship. Planning Advisory met May 14th. I'll just go over some of the highlights. Secretary Treasurer updated the committee that the county has provided comments in Bill 185 and expects the release of a new provincial policy statement in the coming months. It was referred that the release of such documents were critical prior to commencing the official plan update. Number 4, consent application number B2-24, 374, 376 13th Avenue. Andrew outlined the proposed consent application B2-24, in which the applicant is granting a right-of-way to neighboring property owner at 382 13th Avenue, allowing access to the driveway for the backyard parking. Number 6, I'll just group these together 6 and 7. This is the Giorgio subdivision. It's a consent application number B 4-24 943 8th Avenue. The Secretary Treasurer explained the Giorgio plan subdivision. There are 3 small parcels of property, block 69, 70, and 71 that are not developed due to their shape, size, or location. The town is not interested in acquiring these blocks. Therefore, condition 5, the draft conditions require Giorgio to convey these lands to other properties. The 3 property owners adjacent to block 69, 70, 71 have expressed interest in acquiring the respective adjoining blocks, with block 69 being conveyed to 943 8th Avenue North. Andrew also noted the neighbors acquiring these parcels will be able to use the lands for purposes such as landscaping and gardening. Accessory buildings may be also permitted if relevant positions of zoning bylaw are met. Number 7, the Secretary, this is a consent application. Oh, sorry, I just did that one. We'll go over to number 9, consent application B 7-24. This is 854 24th Avenue. Dana Kiefer from Cobite Engineer, the agent for 854 24th Avenue, explained that the subject lands are situated in the eastern side of the town of Hanover, a petitionary residential area adjacent to the Saugeen Cedar West subdivision. The land measures 0.36 hectares and contains 1 house and 2 accessory structures. It is zoned residential type 1R1 under the town of Hanover's comprehensive zone bylaw. The application intends to propose that the severance of the existing house and accessory structure be created a new lot for a proposed building rental housing. And that's all number 11.3, Bill 185, Provincial Policy Statement, Gray County, which you all have in your package, which I'm sure you've all read. That's all I have to report from planning.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All right, so that was the last set of minutes for that motion. It was moved by Councillor Cable, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dickert, and we are receiving the information and approving the recommendations contained in those minutes. All in favor? That is carried. Item 11 is bylaws, and we have 3 bylaws. So I need a mover and seconder to put those on the floor, and I'll take Councillor Cable and Deputy Mayor Dickert. So I will ask the clerk for the intent of the bylaws.
Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw number 3302-24 is a bylaw of the Town of Hanover to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Hanover at its regular meeting held on April 15th, 2024. Sorry, I'm just getting to the other one here. There we go. And bylaws 3303-24 and 3304-24 are bylaws to remove certain lands from part lot control in the Town of Hanover.
Thank you. So it's been moved by Councillor Cable, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dickert, that bylaw numbers 3302-24 through to 3304-24 be introduced and that they be taken as read a first, second, and third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and inserted in the bylaw book. Are there any further questions or comments with those bylaws? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. We do not have any correspondence requiring action, so item 13 is reports and correspondence for information. 13.1 is Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes. Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Committee of Adjustment met on Wednesday, May the 1st. It's a fairly short meeting. We just had one agenda item. We reviewed minor variance application A2-24, which pertained to 237 9th Street. The proposed minor variance application was around plans that the owners had to construct a 16 by 9 foot extension to their dwelling on the right side of the property for use as a living room. And so they were requesting relief from the zoning bylaw to reduce the side yard setback to 3 foot 2 inches. After a good discussion, the committee agreed to grant that application. And that was the only item on our agenda.
I see, it was 10 minutes long. You're setting a record there. So, okay, so that was for information. Of course, if there's questions, just let me know. Item 13.2 is the downtown improvement area meeting minutes. Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Worship. The DIA met April 18th. I'll just go over some of the highlights here. Small Business Security Enhancement Grant. Krista, no updates. This is going to close April 30th. Linda Fiddler give us a market update, and they're scheduled to meet in May. Vendors are signing up for both markets. Across for the DIA sponsors social media draw award the Friday before the fall market. Downtown promotions, I guess we're into June and July here. Music in the Square starts up. We got Father's Day promotions. October, we got October Pumpkin Carving Challenge, Trick or Treat Trail, November's Holiday Shop and Win. November 15th, December DIA Ugly Sweater Days, Christmas sweaters, December Friday, December 6th, lighting of the square market on Saturday, December 7th, parade. This will be discussed further. And that's all I have to report from the DIA.
Thank you. Any questions or? That's planning ahead. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Worship. I'm just wondering if you have a specific committee with the downtown improvement about the lighting of the square events, if they're going to do a separate committee for that?
That hasn't been discussed. I think it'll just be handled at the DIA, the committee as a whole.
Thank you.
Okay, so item 13, well, the next 3 items, put it that way, is Saugeen Mobility and Regional Transit, otherwise known as SMART. There's 2 sets of minutes and the annual report. Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship. The February 16th minutes, we approved the 2024 budget. We also initiated a discussion on our 30-passenger bus that it's a 30-passenger bus, but it'll only carry 14 wheelchairs, but it can be used. It's versatile. You can use it in both ways. Group excursions, which that forms a big part of that, makes up about 5,000 rides per year. So it's a fairly significant chunk of the business, and the group excursions are typically done by privately owned facilities, our long-term care facilities. So we need to keep that in balance when we're looking at how we're going to move forward. The 30-passenger bus, excuse me, is getting older, and we need to decide whether we're going to replace it or not. So that's what's going on there. As a result of a review with our insurance provider, we had to enhance some policies about our hands-free and personal use of vehicles. Not that Saugeen mobility vehicles are used for personal use, but we need to have a policy just to ensure that that's very clear. We discussed the Bruce County Master Transportation Plan, and we will be having their coordinator, Claire Dodds, join us for a future meeting. And in January, we had 1,976 rides, and we're really focusing on those deadhead kilometers that we're seeing every month. As it costs us a lot of money to run an empty vehicle, and we're just trying our best to manage that expense. In March, we had our audit findings for 2023. BDO was there and presented that, and all was good. There was no concerns. In the past, SMART's legal firm has advised us that Saugeen Mobility operates under the Ontario Not-for-Profit Corporations Act and not the Municipal Act. This does impact how we move forward with our partnership agreements when we bring on a new partner such as Grey Highlands. So we're just continuing to concentrate on how we manage that and stay within our operating charter. We've received confirmation that a motor vehicle accident from back in February of 2022 will not result in any legal action against Saugeen Mobility. So that was nice to get that off the books. We had a discussion on board governance, and the use of email, and it's to be limited for sharing of information only and not decision making. had a discussion on the use of the Smart Bus for Roads Tour by Huron Kinloss, as one of their councillor members requires accessible transit. But our charter does not allow us to use the vehicle for people who don't qualify under that. So we needed to figure out a way to allow them to do that so they can do their roads tour together and not be compromising our charter, our operating charter. We looked at our asset management plan and the best vehicle size and fuel source. EV is not considered a good option at this time due to the range and cost of the vehicles. February saw 2,177 rides, which is now higher than the pre-COVID numbers for February of 2019. And of those rides, Hanover had 536. The annual report that is sent out to each of the member municipalities, just some of the highlights from that. Smart received one new passenger bus in 2023, and that was a replacement bus for the vehicle that was damaged in 2022. And it shows you how long it takes to get these buses from the time they're ordered until they're received. We've successfully negotiated separate agreements with Home and Community Sports Services and Gray Transit to provide accessible transportation throughout Gray and Bruce communities during times when their resources are insufficient or unable to meet the legislated or demand for service. Saugeen Mobility sold 7 vehicles during 2023, which was part of our initiative to renew its fleet and find efficiencies in its asset management plan. We had too many vehicles that were classed as spares, and we just didn't need those. These vehicles had all been replaced under that ISIP funding that we had a couple of years previous. And by the time you keep the insurance on them and keep them on the road, it was just too costly. So we've made the decision to eliminate those vehicles. Smart Management and its board are considering various levels of service to include basic, enhanced service and cost recovery, where a municipality would contribute a smaller amount of money, but the transportation fees would then come from the actual users. There is a pilot project going on right now with Chatsworth being the target, or not target, but the municipality that's doing that. Our ridership for 2023 was 25,353 rides, which was a 17% increase from 2022. And of those rides, Hanover had 5,341, which was an increase of 15.8%. That is my report.
Any comments or questions for the deputy mayor? I just want to say I commend the board for working so hard to find savings and make it all work, because that service is needed by the people who use it. It's really important for people in rural Ontario to have that access. So well
Thank you for
done.
that.
Item 13. I'm skipping one. 13.4 is a letter and report from Gray County Planning and Development, and it is comments that are being submitted to the province about Bill 185. And through this bill, the province is proposing changes to the Planning Act, the Municipal Act, and Development Charges Act in an effort to accelerate the creation of housing. The province is also proposing changes to the provincial policy statement. And county staff have noted concerns with potential impacts to public appeal rights, settlement area boundaries, and new regulations on bonusing. So these comments will go to the province, and then we'll, I guess there'll be lots of comments coming in. They'll consolidate them and finally come up with the act, the Bill 185 will be passed. I'm not sure when, but when it does happen, Andrew will be bringing a report back to us to see how it affects Hanover. Okay, item 13.5 is the Gray County Council and Committee of the Whole highlights from May the 9th. At that meeting, council heard a presentation from Gray County resident Jeremy Wentworth Stanley, and it was regarding the proposed pump storage facility in the municipality of Meaford. He shared his concerns with the financial feasibility of the project. So there are both sides. We're hearing at Gray County Council meetings on whether they're for or against this project. Council received a progress report on the operating plan for Grey Roots Museum and Archives, and 2023 was a very good year for Grey Roots, with visitation and event participation fully rebounding to pre-pandemic levels, which is an increase of more than 44% over the year 2022. So if you're ever looking for something to do, it's well worth your while to go visit Grey Roots Museum and take a tour of some of the buildings that are on that property. There's a lot of interesting and historical things happening there. Council discussed the battery energy storage systems, technologies, and the needs of Ontario's electricity system. Concerns include fire safety and emergency plans, impact on agriculture and environmental lands, and a lack of policy regulating battery storage systems in communities. So Grey County will be sending a letter to the province asking for an energy land use policy guideline to be created. And finally, council confirms support for the current policy for recognizing community awareness campaigns at the local municipal level, such as proclamations or flying flags for organizations. So it will be kept at the municipal level rather than at the county level. And of course, open to any questions if there are any. Okay, item 13.61 is a letter from the South Bruce Grey Health Center Board in response to Mayor Eccles of West Grey regarding the transition of the Durham Hospital acute inpatient care beds. As is item 13.6.2, it is our letter, as in Hanover Council's letter to South Bruce Grey Health Center Board, reflecting our support to the municipality of West Grey and for the South Bruce Grey Health Center to reconsider the decision to transfer those acute inpatient beds to other facilities. Councillor Hawking. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Brendan. First of all, I want to apologize for my continuing coughing. I really feel awful about it. But anyway, I'm here. I'm just wondering, CC, did a copy of this go to West Grey?
No, it was CC'd to Premier, yeah, the ones that are listed there.
Right.
So no, I did not CC it to
I think
West
it'd be
Grey.
nice to send it
Sure.
to West Grey.
Yep, can do that.
Thank you.
All right, item 14 is councillor and staff updates, as in good news and celebrations. And we'll start with Councillor Cable.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. A quick shout out to the Hanover Community Players who had a very successful spring production of Drinking Habits. It was very well done, and the Community Players also partnered with the Lions Club to offer refreshments and pre-concert or pre-show socials, which were well attended. So excellent job at the Community Players. And I believe that they're already on to their auditions for The Sound of Music, which is coming up in December. I'm also highlighting that the Agricultural Society, who owns and operates Hanover Raceway, is busy preparing for opening day. The first day of races is set for Saturday, June the 1st, which is coming up very quickly. Post time is at 1:30. And this is the 60th anniversary of racing in Hanover. They started in 1964. And so they will be having a 60th anniversary celebration on June the 1st. Celebrate with free cake. It's going to be a great day. And they're also having mini horse races as part of that event.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any? Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to mention that the hanging basket sale was this past weekend from Thursday until Monday, and they had a very successful weekend. They sold 3,916 plants, which was a good portion for the fundraising for the library. I also want to promote the next fundraiser for the library, which will be a trivia night that they are partnering with the Legion. So it happens on the first day of summer, Friday, June the 21st, and teams are required, we'll get a little bit of a competition going here perhaps. Teams of 4 to 6, $15 to enter, lots of great prizes. And as you know, the Legion has beverages available and there'll be food provided also. So I just want to do a shout out for that one. And also, just because we're in plant season, the Horticultural Society is having their plant sale this weekend on Saturday, May the 25th from 8 until 1 o'clock, and that is at the Legion in the parking lot. And it's all of the Horticultural Society. People bring their established plants, and it's by donation. So pick up lots if you still have to fill up some spots.
Counselor Hawking, then Counselor Fleet.
I just want to inform council, it hasn't happened yet, but I got a neat email from John Gardner this week. And John has been able to work with the library on a Cultural Day activity. John, Larry Mercy, Jamie Warren, and Richard Nechtel are putting an event on at the Civic Center, I believe. So it should be quite unique because there are 4 born and raised Hanoverians who want to come back and do their thing. So I don't know whether April had been contacted, but I emailed her my response to John. John's been working on this for a long time. I'm sure he's been in touch with you too, Mayor Patterson. So I'm pleased to see that he's been able to pull something off. So that should be a great, I'm assuming Saturday, but I don't know any more details. But I just want to let everybody know. Thanks.
Very good. Counselor Fleet.
Thank you, Worship. I just want to thank the Hanover Barons for a successful season. They brought a lot of excitement and spirit to our town. So just thank you to the Hanover Barons. And also everyone that was involved with Earth Day cleanup. It was a good day, and Counselor Cable and myself, we picked up a few new counselors to help us out, and I think we cleaned up again. So good luck next year, Deputy Mayor Dickert. So thank you.
Any comment, Deputy Mayor? No? Anything to highlight? No, I just have one comment. I want to say I had the opportunity to attend a Barons hockey game. I'm not a hockey person. I don't know a lot about it, but I did enjoy myself. When I did leave, they started scoring, which was a good thing. So I also attended the community players play, drinking habits, and the Grey Bruce School of Dance. And I want, as we are leaders in this community, I want everyone to realize how important it is for us to be out there. And I was quite amazed that the organizations are so appreciative when you do come out, whether you're there for all of it or some of it, or, you know, and so are the people attending these events, because they do notice that we as leaders are out there. And the added benefit, first of all, it's fun, it's interesting, like the Grey Bruce School of Dance. The kids are so cute when they're dancing, but so are the parents. The dads dance and the mothers dance. I give them credit for getting up there on that stage and dancing and singing. So, but the other thing that's really important is gives us a broader outlook for when we're making decisions about this community. Because sometimes you get focused that there's only certain things happening in this community, but it takes a wide range to make it thrive. So if you do have the opportunity to support any of these groups, please do so, because they appreciate it. So, and now I ask staff. I have a note. Don't forget staff. Sherry.
I just want to note to council and our listening public that there is going to be some 10th Street lane closures and lane reductions. So tomorrow, Wednesday, May 22nd, 10th Street will be closed eastbound from the 7th Avenue intersection to Pita Pit. There will be detours in place and the westbound lane remains open. And on Thursday, May 23rd, there will be reductions on 10th Street, lane reductions, I should say, on 10th Street. Again, from that 7th Avenue east to Pita Pit. So again, this is related to our new construction on the corner that continues to take positive shape, and they're needing to tie into some of our systems that are underground.
Okay. Okay, so item 15, planning and other meetings. Of course, they're all listed on this agenda and on our website. Dates to remember and announcements. The next committee of the whole meeting is June the 3rd at 4 p.m. and the next regular council meeting is June 17th at 4 p.m. And at this time, I'll ask if there's any notices of motion. Okay, we do not have a closed meeting, but I need a mover and seconder to adjourn at 5:10. Councillor Hocking and Deputy Mayor Dickert, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you.